Michigan State University's Office of K-12 Outreach, bringing research, innovation, and best practices to educators across Michigan, the United States, and the world.
Hello, everyone. I'm Shirley Jackson, an outreach specialist in the Office of K-12 Outreach in the College of Education at Michigan State University, where Dr. Brian Beverly is our amazing and supportive leader. Thank you for joining us in another segment of our office's focus on Michigan women who've made enormous contributions to education. As I often say, I just continue to be overwhelmed by the incalculable ways these outstanding women influence our thinking about education and how, against incredible odds, they find ways to transform the systems that intersect at practice and policy. But notably, women like today's guest force us to examine how well we're supporting the learners we're so fortunate to serve. So without delay, I'll introduce the exceptionally accomplished and incredibly committed Dr. Sonya Gunnings-Moton, longtime associate professor and associate dean of student support and engagement in the College of Education right here at Michigan State University. Sonya, welcome. How wonderful to have you here, and thank you for agreeing to speak with me.
Absolutely, absolutely. Thank you for having me back, Shirley.
Of course. I met you quite a few years ago, more than I want to talk about, when I was a new outreach specialist in our office. And the first thing I noticed about you was your irrepressible sense of humor, aside from the fact that I just thought you were so smart. Yet you were about serious business.
That's right.
From what I can understand, you are the force behind our college's urban education agenda. So I'm eager to have you tell us about your educational career and journey, especially how you decided that schools and kids who live in our cities would become the centerpiece of your work.
Well, it's interesting. Others have asked me about my own educational and career journey. And I think I have to be honest in saying to you, Shirley, I never, ever aspired to be a faculty person or a higher ed administrator. That was not my script. Okay. I always wanted to be a psychologist. My family actually had a private practice, an outpatient mental health and substance abuse treatment practice that my late father owned and operated. And so I always just envisioned myself going on being a psychologist and taking over that business. And that's what I did. I went on and actually completed my PhD in counseling psychology in this College of Education. Wow. And then went into private practice, where I did specialize in working with adolescents and youth from a clinical intervention perspective.
Okay.
And then, Shirley, life events happened. I was a married mother of a 4-year-old, and my husband passed away.
Wow.
And so I found myself feeling that being in private practice was very, shall I say, isolating in a way.
Yes, I can see that.
Yeah, very isolating in a way. And I was very fortunate because it was, in fact, at that same time, a woman dean of the College of Education, Carol Ames, reached out to me and asked me if I would be interested in coming back to work in the college, because I had been a graduate student working in the college. And
so you were invited. You were invited to come.
I was invited back. I was asked back. Yes, I had served, as I said, and finished my PhD there, and also worked as a graduate student, academic specialist, and so forth. And then when I finished my PhD, I went into private practice. I was sort of leaving higher ed. And she did not have even a position for me, Shirley. She just said, we have this need to establish this diversity, equity, inclusion sort of agenda in the college. And I've heard you're a person who could possibly do that.
Wow.
And I said, I can absolutely do that.
So your need kind of matched the need of the college at that time.
Yes.
So, yeah.
The stars aligned. There's no other way to say it.
Wonderful opportunity. Yes.
Yeah.
And so what happened after that? Did you just become hooked on higher ed at that point?
Well, I had always had my foot in higher ed, of course, because as I said, when you're pursuing doctoral studies, you're doing your own studies. I was doing it in that College of Education. This has always been a very dynamic College of Education. And so part of my own studies as a graduate student pulled me into the fold of a lot of exciting, innovative work that was going on. Our college was involved in establishing professional development schools at that time, which was really a strong outreach effort that took me to Flint, Michigan. And so, yes, it was Flint educators who educated me and my kind of foot in the door around issues of urban education. And as an undergraduate at Northwestern University, one of the most profound experiences I had was spending a semester in Cabrini Green, studying the impact of social policies on that population that resided there. That was transformative for me, Shirley.
I'm sure it was. Anybody who knows anything about Chicago knows about those large housing projects that line the Dan Ryan freeway at that time.
Exactly.
And so you took yourself right in there and started working.
Right in there, yeah. I actually lived in Cabrini Green for a while to do my own undergraduate research. I know. I don't know what was going on, but it was, as I said, it was transformative. And the scholarship of my late father as well was with urban populations, but I was just of the understanding that to really study something, you must be of it.
Yes.
And so for me, that meant that if I was going to really try to understand the impact of some of these social policies, then I needed to be in the context quite deeply. So I just lived in Cabrini Green for a short while, very short.
So I'd really like to we weren't planning to talk about Cabrini Green, of course, but now that you have raised that, I have to say that often people who don't have the experience of living in the city, perhaps, have some preconceived notions about the people who live in housing projects. Tell us a little bit about the experience, because usually I think they would find on after some close examination that they're wrong. I know for a fact that some really amazing people come out.
Oh, absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
I think, and you talk about, breaking down assumptions and stereotypes. And I think others assume that as a Black woman, that meant that I must have come from an urban setting, and I did not.
Okay.
I came from East Lansing, Michigan. I went to East Lansing schools. My father was a professor. Yeah. So I was not a product of an urban context living environment. So those awakenings for me as a Black woman were also profound as well. I think that sometimes takes people about. They think all Black and brown people must understand. No, that's not the case.
Yeah, we are not just one culture.
That is not the case. Right. But it was so many years ago, but I can tell you, Shirley, that my memory is of a group of people that were so embracing of me, that were almost protective of me. It's hard to sort of explain. They knew that I was an undergrad student and why I was there and that I wanted to learn. And they literally, as I said, they embraced me and they took me in and they showed me some things and told me some things and helped me understand some things. And then I would process that with my professor and then try to conceptualize what that meant about the impact of certain policy decisions in the community. It was transformative. But
it's a truly period of growth for you, I'm sure.
Absolutely. But I left that experience committed to addressing improving the quality of life of others. It sounds so superficial, but because of that experience and because of the influence of my own father, I had truly internalized that. And did not see myself pursuing a career professionally that did not have that purpose.
Wow.
Nothing was going to be fulfilling for me if it didn't have that purpose. And so that's where that came about for me. And it was a wonderful experience.
Well, I had an opportunity to work for a time to have an office down in the MSU's Detroit Center,
yes,
where classrooms for the urban cohort are held. And every once in a while, I'd run into you. Not surprisingly, especially now that I know how much you had to do with that coming to, into fruition in the first place. How hard was the fight to get that going, or was there a fight?
Well, it was an opportunity and a fight, I think I will say. That we had been, you mean the college, I should say, had been approached by Eli Broad, the late now Eli Broad, that our College of Business is the namesake for as well. But he had approached our then dean, Carol Ames, about wanting the #1 college of education for teacher preparation to do something in Detroit. And it was really outlined with that sort of vagueness, to be honest with you. And
so that really gave you an opportunity to
gave me an opportunity. Carol, like I said, a female dean said, "Sonya, what do you think?" And I said, we can propose some things that I think are going to be sustainable here and impacting. And that was the birth of my body of work in the college that has stayed there today, the establishing of the pipeline programs. So in essence, what we created was a pre-college program, bringing in Detroit youth, getting them ready for college, but also being very clear about the fact that we were doing things to get them to think seriously about pursuing a career as an educator.
And I wondered about that. I want to stop you for just a minute because I know Michigan State University is not an HBCU.
Right.
And I also know that the majority of the young students who came down to take classes in that cohort were not Black students, in fact.
That's right.
Was there, how did that happen? Were they just kids who were committed to making a difference, or who were these young people?
Well, the Urban Ed Cohort Program students are students that you're thinking of. And it is the case, Michigan State and nationally, the majority of students in teacher preparation program are middle and upper income white females.
Yes.
And it has always been and is currently a challenge increasing the diversity composition, the racial ethnic diversity composition specifically in our teacher preparation programs. It is even a challenge, quite honestly, Shirley, for our HBCU peers. They too have seen this great decline of interest among Blacks to pursue a career as educators. And so it persists as a problem, no doubt about that. But the Urban Ed cohort and that pre-college program helped us make a difference in some regard and increase our numbers, but we still have so much work to do. There is so much work that those who are there now continuing the work are continuing to be committed to doing.
I can only imagine. That brings me to another question that I wanted to raise with you. We've got young people still who are trying to get a career started. Mm-hmm. And yet we have this real problem, as you just stated so well, with attracting talented young people to education. Mm-hmm. What do we need to do? What is it that we're not getting? What are we not doing to make this career, which I was an urban educator, and I have to say that I loved it. I loved being in the classroom and had to be dragged out of the classroom into administration. So what are we missing in this period?
I think there are a number of pieces to that puzzle, Shirley, and that in essence define the breadth of the work. One you alluded to yourself, and that is this need to professionalize the profession of being an educator, so that we then begin to instill the understanding that it is indeed not just a noble profession, which it is in fact, but it is also a very powerful and impacting profession that requires that one be bright, committed, and very much engaged in what it is that the purpose is of education in and of itself. So professionalizing the profession is one thing. Those of you who were in schools know that we also have to address the conditions under which we are asking educators to perform. So we have to, in essence, make that setting in which we are asking them to educate the future of this country much more attractive, much more resource driven, and giving them the opportunities and support to make the magic happen that we're asking them to make happen. So conditions of the profession in and of itself. There was a time, as you recall, and I'm old enough to recall, in which particularly bright Black students, we were teachers, preachers, or
that's right,
or that sort of venture. But the advent has created other opportunities for bright Black students in particular to pursue. That's a good thing. That's a good thing.
But now we're competing then.
Now we're competing.
Career.
Now we're competing, and we have to be able to present a case that's pretty solid that says, why would you want to be an educator? Why would you want to be a teacher?
Yes.
When you are as bright and promising as you are, and you have so many other opportunities. One of the things that I pushed those who worked with me to think very seriously about was this paradigm shift of we are not trying to recruit these young people to be teachers. I don't want you to tell them or ever look them in the face and say, I want you to be a teacher. That's not the message I want to convey. I want you to look them in the face and say, I want you to be one of those individuals that transforms your community.
Wow. And then people have some options for how that looks.
How does that happen? Who has the power to do that? Who are some of the most influential, consistent people that have impacted your life? They're going to say educators.
Absolutely.
They're going to say educators.
Absolutely.
And so they come to sort of that conclusion themselves about the importance and the priority and the power of being an educator. But I never, ever said to a young person, I think, or want you to be a teacher. Yeah. I always said to them, I want you to be a change agent.
How insightful. And I think we're so focused on numbers that we go at be a teacher first before we get to the why and how, and what's the benefit for yourself and for others.
Yes.
That's amazing. I'm going to remember that one because you've said some things that are important. First of all, having people think about what it means to be a change agent. Who are the people who are influential in the community? So if we want people to be those people, have them look around to see who are the people making the difference. And then the thing that you also lifted for us is that there's got to be a place for them to go that they find is worthy of their best efforts.
Absolutely.
Okay. All right. I love that.
Yeah.
Well, this is, we invited you to come and talk to us because we wanted to focus on women. And I'm wondering, in your life, who who were the women who influenced you? Were there some women that you looked at and said, wow, I know you mentioned your dad and that he was doing meaningful work that really kind of called to you, but were there some women who also were influential?
Immediately, most definitely is my mother.
Oh, yeah.
Immediately and most impacting is my mother. She modeled for me in the context of segregation and overt discrimination.
Yes.
That women can aspire and achieve. And so her presence in my life was a continual influence, demonstrating to me what it was that was possible. She always excelled academically, and I will often reflect on the strength that she portrayed. She shared with me a story, Shirley, and I'm just giving it to you as an example because it overwhelmed me so. But as I said, she excelled academically, and she was her class valedictorian. She was also her senior year in college, married and pregnant with me.
Yes.
And she was waiting at the bus stop on her way to give her class valedictorian speech. And two white men pulled up in a truck, got out of the truck, spit on her, called her names, got in their truck, and went on about their business. That's how she shared it with me. And I recall the first time she shared that I was just overcome with tears.
Yeah.
Envisioning my mother having to endure that. And I said to her, Mom, what did you do? How did you handle that? And she said, matter of factly, I went on about my business too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so she went on to give her class valedictorian speech. She decided that she wanted to pursue graduate studies herself. So she left me with my father for a while, went to New York, got her master's in chemistry. And when I was actually in college as an undergrad, she was completing her own PhD.
Oh my gosh.
And all along, that woman never missed a beat in being my mother and in being my father's spouse. Never missed a beat. I would not have known she was accomplishing all that she was accomplishing while maintaining these multiple roles. So, no doubt in my mind, she is one of many phenomenal women that we know about. And watching what she accomplished and all that she did in her own personal pursuits was priceless to me. So when you're raised by a woman like that, Shirley, as you know,
Yes.
when you're raised by a woman of that sort of strength and fortitude, you can't imagine yourself not persisting for something. You can't imagine even creating an excuse.
You have to stand for something.
You have to stand for something.
Yeah.
And you have to be driven despite whatever obstacles there may be.
So I have to tell you that of all the women I've talked to, every single one,
Absolutely.
when I've asked them who was the most influential woman in their lives, has said their mother.
I'm not surprised.
Not surprising at all, because I would answer the same way.
Absolutely. Yeah.
The backgrounds of all these women were very different. Not everybody had the chops your mom had to say, I want a graduate degree from this university.
Mm-hmm.
I am not where that university is, but I'm going, and I'm going to manage all of the other things. But nonetheless, the stories have been phenomenal. This one that you've told me, though, is especially so. And I have to tell you, it made the hair stand up. The erector pili muscles were working while you were telling it, because it just symbolizes the determination of so many women. What you described was not unusual for a segment of our population.
Exactly.
And
especially during that time period.
That's right.
Exactly.
So she did exactly what she knew she had to do. I went on
about her business,
about my business.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you've had a lot of achievements yourself. We've touched on a few of them, but of what are you proudest?
That's a tough one because it makes me, think about personally. My late father always said the quote to me, you can never pay it back, so you better pay it forward. Always said that to me.
Wow.
So that sort of resonated with me about why I do what I do or did what I did. Most definitely from a personal career achievement, being the first Black associate dean in the College of Education at Michigan State was felt good.
Yes.
Felt good. And in the same breath, it felt unfortunate. It's hard to explain.
I think I know where you're going, but I want you to.
Hard to explain. There's this personal wow.
Mm-hmm.
That was me. And then wow.
Why? Yes.
How could that possibly be?
Yes.
All of the women, all of the men of color who I know came through this college, who I know were worthy.
Yes.
Of that sort of acknowledgement and recognition. So, it's not the kind of thing where you get your ego boost from it. You got to reflect on, wow, this is 2020, and here I am. They're saying I'm the first.
Makes you think about shoulders, doesn't it? Shoulders.
But I think when you ask what I'm most proud of, it would be what I alluded to earlier, Shirley, just putting in place a strong urban ed agenda and pipeline programs for the College of Education. And what I'm most proud about is that none of it relied solely on me, that it will persist. It has persisted and shows evidence of persisting past me, of growing and scaling past me.
Wow.
And I can't tell you how good that feels.
Why do you think that is, Sonya?
I don't know. Something didn't come and go with me. It stayed after, it seems to be staying.
But there are reasons that happens, because we can think of so many great ideas and a lot of hard work that people have put into projects. And once they're gone, then that fades away. So why has it been different? There has to be something going on at Michigan State University that keeps it at number one in terms of teacher preparation. What do you think that is?
The people.
Okay.
I mean, it seems so trite, but when I say to people, we have some of the most committed faculty and academic faculty and other members like yourself and others who do this work, who are nothing short of elite. And I talk about you and my colleagues like that to others. Mm-hmm. They will say, Michigan State stays number one. I said, because we've got some people there who are literally grunting through that work, who are, excuse my language, just badasses. And these people.
Yes, I've met them.
You know what I mean? These people, we're going to, and I think of people like you, a Terry Flanar, Brian, and others who are just continuing to drive that work. So I think most fitting about Michigan State being a land grant mission, what makes it unique and what makes it sustained for us at Michigan State is the people.
Wow.
And the quality of what is being produced by these people is, in my opinion, unparalleled. And I'm biased, but that's okay. But that's what makes the difference. It is the people.
And actually, it can't be anything else but that, can it?
Mm-mm.
Because
I don't
brick
know.
and mortar alone
That's right.
doesn't do it.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think so.
People come and go. People do come and go, but there's something sustaining there about our culture, about our commitments, about our purpose that keeps getting passed on.
You're right. And, I think in spite of the fact that we have all of these accomplished people, so many of them who are women, working in these environments and trying to make a difference for others, especially kids, because we're a college of education. The spaces in which women have worked have not always been the safe and equitable spaces that we'd like them to be. And it's often been really difficult for women to advance, even if they were highly skilled.
Still is. Absolutely. Yes.
That's an obstacle. I wonder, what do you think is the major obstacle for women today?
I'm going to cheat and I'm going to tell you that I'm not going to tell you one. I'm going to tell you sexism, racism, and economic inequality that converge to create a major barrier and obstacle. Those factors together create a barrier that, in my opinion, sort of result in the power imbalance that we see and that continues to prevail. I mean, there's a reason why just this past week, we are rejoicing in the confirmation of the first Black woman to the Supreme Court. The only thing that I can assume that prevented that happening sooner is sexism and racism.
Absolutely. Because she's not the first person with immeasurable qualifications.
Right. And she'd be the first to tell you she's not. The same thing I was saying about.
She did say that. She
about
absolutely
being the associate dean. I know I'm not the first. You're not the first to have honored that. Or that we just, celebrated our first Black president and then Black female vice president. I mean, this is in the recent years of our life. And so clearly to me, the most direct answer to that question is sexism, racism, and economic inequality.
Absolutely. Well, that leads me to what probably is going to be our last question, but it's an important one to ask of someone like you who's had such an illustrious career and has provided so much for so many. What are your hopes and aspirations for the next generation of women coming along now?
That's a loaded question. Well, I hope first that there will be an increased presence of women in positions of decision-making and in positions of power to have a voice, to change the trajectory, to ensure that there are issues of equity that are attended to. So my first desire and hope and aspiration is that there would be an increased presence. Secondly, I would hope those women understand that they matter so much.
Yes.
And that it's not just about the space, place, and time that they're seated in right at that moment, but that it is about the future. And that they carry with them this commitment to pay it forward.
Wow. I'm going to remember your admonition about paying it forward. You added something that I had not heard in when people talk about paying it forward. You reminded us that you can never pay it back. Mm-hmm. And I think some people miss why paying it forward then is so important. And I thank you for that. It's just been a delight to talk to you, Sonya, and to see you again after so many years.
You as well.
I hope you're out there still beating that path, though.
I am in my own way, in my own time, in my own place, and I am. This sort of commitment, as you know, Shirley, as well as anyone, it does not leave you.
No,
it does not leave you. You just have to determine, depending upon where you are in your life, what form it's going to take. But
exactly,
and how you're going to express it and work. But the drive and that commitment and that purpose, it doesn't leave you. It never leaves you.
I, for one, feel incredibly fortunate that there are people like you. No one exactly like you, though. You are a force. You really are.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
But it's wonderful to know that there are people who really have the interests of our children at heart, and that we're in a career that really allows us to work far longer than some people are able to contribute. Yes. So I feel fortunate in that respect.
Well, keep doing good work in K-12 outreach. It's a phenomenal unit, and Brian is just great, and all of that. You know, I don't know if Brian told you, I interviewed him when he was in 8th grade.
Oh my goodness. He did
He's
not
got actually, and we sort of did a little remake as he was, I believe he might have just finished his PhD, but ask him to share that with you. I interviewed Brian, and I was doing a national presentation entitled Everybody's Children. And what I did was interview urban youth and ask them questions about their educational experiences. Brian was one of them.
I'd love to hear what.
Let him tell you. He's got the tape. He's got the videotape.
My.
And I remember ending the tape and saying, that kid's going to be something.
And he is.
Now he's
an amazing man. Amazing man.
Absolutely.
Sonya, thank you so much.
You as well. Shirley, you take care and give everyone my best.
Thank you, Sonya.
All righty. You take care.
Hope to talk to you again soon.
All righty. You as well. Bye-bye.